Quick update in regards to the escalating situation in Israel. We're also going to touch base on what is happening with Iran in the United States, as well as North Korea in the United States. But there have been a lot more headlines that have occurred within the last couple of days. Here were just a few of them. Donald Trump signs order to boost U.S. defense industry amid World War III fears. A 100,000-ton message to the world. Donald Trump unveils USS Gerald R. Ford warship. Tensions rise as Chinese spy ship is spotted near U.S. and Australian war games, and Israel sends more troops to the West Bank after stabbing and unrest. And also, Israel launched a rocket from the Gaza Strip on Sunday morning, and Iran announces production of new air defense missile. And Fox News correspondents is stating that Iran will soon have ICBMs armed with nukes by way of North Korea. And Donald Trump's most senior military is stating that the U.S. must be prepared for war. So definitely a lot has happened in just the last couple of days, you guys. Let's jump into these headlines and then I will be right back. Donald Trump has fast-tracked an order to bolster the U.S. defense industry amid heightened tensions with Iran and missile-obsessed North Korea. The U.S. president signed an executive order looking to address weak points in the country's military manufacturing base. The order asked for recommendations on possible legislative, regulatory, and policy changes that would improve and support the defense industry. The announcement comes as North Korea threatens the U.S. with a nuclear missile strike. The U.S. government last week passed a bill calling for billions of dollars to be poured into the nation's missile defense systems amid fears Kim Jong-un could develop nuclear missiles. The legislation will see $696 billion added to the U.S. defense budget. Bolstering the defense industry played a major role in Mr. Trump's presidential campaign. President Trump has pledged to build a 350-ship Navy, including 12 aircraft carriers, during his tenure. And with that being said, a 100,000-ton message to the world as Donald Trump unveils a USS Gerald R. Ford warship. Donald Trump delivered a threatening message to U.S. enemies as he unveiled the world's biggest warship into the U.S. Navy amid increasing global tensions over territorial waters. The USS Gerald R. Ford, named in honor of the 38th U.S. president, is the first of a new generation of supercarriers that took 12 years to build and will carry more aircraft and weapons than ever before. The $13 billion vessel is the world's most powerful aircraft carrier, and at 1,100 feet is roughly the same size as 3 football pitches. American steel and American hands have constructed a 100,000-ton message to the world. America's might is second to none. When it comes to battle, we don't want a fair fight. We demand victory, and we will have total victory. Believe me, says President Trump. The USS Gerald R. Ford's commissioning comes at a time of increasing naval hostilities across the globe as nations fight for rights to territorial waters. On Friday, a Chinese spy ship was detected near the Australian coast, close to where U.S., New Zealand, and Australian militaries are conducting war game exercise. According to the Australian Defence Force, the Chinese Liberation Army Navy-type vessel was operating off the northeast coast during the Taliban Sabre maneuvers. The vessel is fitted with advanced communication systems designed to eavesdrop on other militaries. Senior Australian military figures condemned China's actions, particularly while more than 30,000 troops are taking part in war games. So hopefully the United States will get stronger and stronger militarily. But what has been happening in Israel? According to Reuters, Israel sent extra troops into the occupied West Bank on Saturday, and its police broke up a crowd of stone-throwing Palestinians in Jerusalem as international concern mounted over the deadliest outbreak of violence between the two sides for years. The Palestinian Health Ministry said one Palestinian was killed during a separate clash outside the city, taking the death toll from the past 2 days to 7. It did not provide details of how he died. 3 Israelis were stabbed to death on Friday while eating dinner in a West Bank settlement. Hours earlier, 3 Palestinians were killed in violence prompted by Israel's installation of metal detectors at entry points to the noble sanctuary Temple Mount in Jerusalem's walled old city. Russia, the United States, the European Union, and the United Nations, the so-called Quartet of Middle East peace mediators, said in a joint statement they were deeply concerned by the escalating tensions and violent clashes taking place in and around the old city of Jerusalem, and called for restraint on all sides. Diplomats said the UN Security Council would meet to discuss the situation on Monday, but Sweden, Egypt, and France requested the meeting to urgently discuss how calls for de-escalation in Jerusalem can be supported. And just on Sunday morning, a rocket was launched from the northern Gaza Strip. According to the IDF, the weapon exploded mid-air, and no one was injured in the alleged attack. It goes on further to state that late Friday, the president of the Palestinian Authority announced that the PA was freezing all contacts with Israel over the Jerusalem holy site dispute and the violence over the past days. So reminds me of the verse in Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3, "And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth will be gathered together against it." So definitely prophecy taking place. Hopefully this will not escalate, but I will definitely keep you guys updated as these reports continue to be developed. Let's move on and talk about what is happening with Iran and the United States. Apparently, Iran has announced production of new air defense missiles. Iranian state TV on Saturday reported the inauguration of a production line for a new version of an air defense missile. The report said the missile, dubbed Sayad-3, is an upgrade to previous versions of the missile. Iran also possesses the advanced S-300 air defense system, which is acquired following the July 2015 nuclear deal after years of delay. Iran had been trying to acquire the system for years to ward off repeated threats by Israel to bomb its nuclear facilities, but Russia had held off delivery in line with UN sanctions imposed over the nuclear program. In March, Iranian state TV announced that the system is now operational. More like Iran threatening Israel by always chanting death to Israel, and in fact, also death to the United States. In fact, many believe that Iran will soon have ICBMs armed with nukes by way of North Korea. In an interview with Fox News, Jeffrey Lewis, an expert at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey, explained that the very first missiles we saw in Iran were simply copies of North Korean missiles. He also noted that over the years, we've seen photographs of North Korean and Iranian officials in each other's countries, and we've seen all kinds of common hardware. He is predicting that in just a few years, Iran will have intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, that can attack targets all over the Middle East, Europe, and the United States. And it might all be thanks to the rogue state the Trump administration has labeled the biggest national security threat of our time, North Korea. And to twist the knife in a little deeper, those missiles could be armed with nuclear weapons once the Iran deal expires. That is, unless America puts a stop to this threat once and for all. Many experts have been warning for years now that Tehran and North Korea have been trading missile technology. If the Trump administration doesn't act fast, it won't be just the hermit kingdom that has nukes that can strike at targets thousands of miles away, but it will also be the only nation on the planet Earth that has turned chanting death to America into a national pastime. Now, to be fair, there are those who downplay the linkages between Iran and North Korea. But if history tells us one thing, it is that never, ever dismiss the power of a common threat. And both of these countries seek to offset U.S. military might at any price. Clearly, long-range missiles armed with nuclear payloads do that quite nicely. And we cannot leave out the threat from North Korea. Donald Trump's most senior military officer has warned that a strike against North Korea is not unimaginable. Joseph Dunford, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said many people have talked about military options with words like unimaginable. I would probably shift that slightly and say it would be horrific, and it would be a loss of life unlike any we have experienced in our lifetimes. And I mean anyone who's been alive since World War II has never seen the loss of life that could occur if there's a conflict on the Korean Peninsula. But as I told my counterparts, both friend and foe, it is not unimaginable to have military options to respond to North Korean nuclear capability. What is unimaginable to me is allowing a capability that would allow a nuclear weapon to land in Denver, Colorado. That's unimaginable to me. So my job will be to develop military options to make sure that doesn't happen. General Dunford spoke about the importance of applying economic and diplomatic sanctions on North Korea to pressure Kim Jong-un into dropping his weapons program. But he stressed that if the U.S. is forced to defend itself and its allies against a North Korean missile attack, it is ready to do so. In addition, coming out of military.com, another missile test could be held next week. The U.S. will conduct as soon as next weekend another test of the missile defense system meant to counter threats from North Korea. The launch from Alaska's Kodiak Island is scheduled to occur at the Pacific Spaceport Complex, Alaska, according to a U.S. Coast Guard note. It goes on further to state a second test from the site, called the FTT-15, will test the system's ability to intercept a medium-range ballistic missile within the Earth's atmosphere. THAAD, which currently has a 100% success rate in 14 tests, uses a direct hit to intercept a target in its final phase of flight. THAAD systems have been placed in Guam and South Korea to counter missile threats from North Korea. Definitely wars and rumors of wars, especially the escalating situation in Israel. I will continue to keep you guys updated as these reports continue to be developed, but please do come and visit me on Facebook, where I have these stories and many more. Also on our website at www.cww7news.org. All right, you guys, I will see you in my next video. God bless.